we got plenty of MCU updates, specifically MCU television updates. So I'm going to run through this really quick, get Russ's thoughts, and have a great conversation because so much was, I think, revealed in terms of Disney Plus for the MCU. First up, it was, of course, Agatha All Along. That is the official title for the upcoming Catherine Hahn Agatha show, releasing. Not sure how it's going to be released in terms of weekly, all at once, binge, because now they are playing around with formats, but it does start releasing at least on September 18th. And just throwing it out there, my guess is it will be spread out to kind of try to eat into that Halloween season a bit more. Ironheart was said to release sometime in 2025. No specific release date. That is a project that was, I think, completed filming in 2022. So it's been a while.
It's been a second.
But it's
Kinda
there.
weird.
It's happening. The stars were actually at the upfront, and it is a real show that is happening sometime in 2025. And the big one for me that we'll probably be discussing the most today, Daredevil Born Again, got this awesome new title treatment that I thought looked phenomenal, different than the original Daredevil Born Again look that we had before. It is releasing sometime in March 2025, so less than a year away. It will be 9 episodes, cutting back from that original 18 that Kevin Feige promised. And the extra little wrinkle I want to add on there is that it is a part of the Netflix story, as we all pretty much like we're getting from the behind the scenes and the updates, but it will be continuing a lot of what happened in the Netflix show when it initially was not. And that was confirmed that it initially was not going to be continuing that in really any way. And now it is going to, which I think is music to most people's ears. So you saw all of this, Disney Plus, Marvel, all these different updates. Russ, what stood out to you the most?
I mean, Daredevil looks great. I am a little more hesitant than most people because while a lot of the creative changes sound good,
Yeah,
it's still a lot of creative changes. A
absolutely.
lot of shifts. So who knows how it'll actually turn out? And admittedly, the whole canon debate is easily one of my least favorite conversations in the fandom.
Me too.
Because it's been crazy to me because it's always been so clear, like crystal clear that they didn't want to continue that Netflix storyline verbatim and they wanted to pick and choose. Um, and that was what we were getting until recently they confirmed that you know they started being way more firm about no, this is canon and we are doing this, and now you have the cast just you know outwardly talking about how like yes, now we're continuing a lot of these stories, whereas before they couldn't say anything like that. So clearly some big shifts happened behind the scenes,
Huge shifts.
which
Yeah,
I personally would have preferred the pick and choose method because everyone's
really.
like, oh, I love that the rest of the shows are canon. And it's like, well, but that comes with its downsides too.
Mm.
It's like, you have things that are everything is inherently connected to Daredevil. So like, that awful Iron Fist show. Well, we're now stuck with it and we're stuck with everything about it.
The defenders, all of
Yeah.
that. Yeah, that's a great point. I
They
mean,
they could still pick and choose if they wanted to, but
and I'm curious, by the way, like if there is still some picking and choosing, because you make a great point. Like they reshot or added so many scenes, and I mean, at this rate, seemingly reshot the entire show post actors and writers strike. Because if it initially wasn't going to be a continuation of the story, like from the set photos and the confirmations we've gotten post all the strikes, Dex is coming back, Foggy, Karen, the original Vanessa actress, like I wonder what they're even keeping from the original. And I imagine, especially like Bob Iger trying to, cut back a little bit, you can't sit there and just balloon this budget to be, I mean, at this rate, probably massive for a Disney Plus Marvel series. If you had to reshoot, recast, I mean, literally Vanessa was recast. Like they had recast her already, and then they now basically drawing back to the original. I think John Berthal was gonna be in it from the get go, right? As Punisher. I think
yeah.
that's the one of the only things besides obviously
Well,
Vincent
there's White
D'Onofrio.
Tiger as well, I believe was.
Oh, and is White Tiger no longer in it?
No, he's in it. That's what I'm saying is that he was
Oh,
in he was in
st
it before the shifts and he's still in it.
Yeah, so it's interesting. I like that perspective because I am a huge fan of the Netflix Daredevil show. Like it's still my favorite Marvel show, point blank. I adore that series. So for me, it's really exciting to continue that because there's an element for me personally that if we weren't getting those same characters, it would have been, I think, a little bit difficult for me to kind of be as bought in because they don't have that same history. And that would have made a little less sense to me because there is so much great history there. I think being able to reference those events that happened, those previous, I mean, just brawls and conflicts, I think it would have been difficult for me to be as bought into these versions. And I think there is a way in this show specifically, like years later. I mean, at this point, Daredevil season 3 came out in 2018 or something like that. So,
Mhm.
I mean, this is going to be at least 7 years later. I think there's just a way where this can feel once it, born again, where it is like this brand new show that has those elements of the past in it, but still feels fresh. And I mean, there's honestly an argument, and I wonder at the very beginning, the nexus of all of this, when this was greenlit, they were really going for it in terms of Disney Plus television shows for Marvel. I wonder if maybe now they'd be thinking maybe this could have been a movie, continue that same canon, and it could have been a Daredevil movie, even though I think this is a safe bet because they know there was that built-in audience, and this will probably be, one of Disney Plus's biggest shows of 2025. What do you think of Agatha? Are you excited for that show? I mean, now we're in marketing territory. It's already May. It comes out in September. This is the last, one of two, but the last live action Marvel Studios show of the year. What are your thoughts on it?
Well, before we move on to Agatha, I wanted to add one thing about Daredevil as
Oh
well,
yeah.
is that I don't think it's actually its episode count is cut. I think that we're
Oh,
still going to get into 18 episodes, but I think that this first part is going to be 9 episodes.
so
And
like two
then,
seasons basically.
yeah, it's basically going to shape up to feel and look like 2 seasons. As for Agatha, I'm excited for it. I know a handful of things about it that do make me excited, and
Mhm.
I think it's going to be a crazy show. And so I'm
Aubrey
interested
Plaza.
to see how it shapes up. And
Yeah.
it could be a big conversation starter for many.
You think so? Similar
Yeah.
to WandaVision?
Yeah, no, I think so.
Do you think it'll be that weekly release like WandaVision? Like I was speculating earlier, I'm not sure.
Yeah, no, I don't think binge model is not the common tactic anymore, nor do I think it is the smart tactic in almost any situation. Because when you throw a binge show out there, it's over and done with within days, and no one's talking about it anymore. You have it weekly, and now you have a weekly conversation that keeps the popularity and grows, and I think Marvel knows that. I think Echo is a very special situation, and I don't think they were too confident in the show, which is kind of why they did that as well.
Right.
Um, but hopefully they're more confident with Agatha, and I do think a weekly release is the way to go.
Yeah, and like I said earlier, it then if it's say what 8, 9 episodes, then that now we're getting into October. We're leading up to Halloween. That's very, this is a witch at the end of the day. Like this is going to be a center of that fall, September, Halloween. All that marketing is going to be towards this, which I think is a smart idea because this show it seemingly has been in the can. Their reshoots were very minimal for this series. It's gone very well, according to all the reports. So I think it's smart they're waiting, they're spreading things out. A part of that spreading out is waiting for Ironheart. I think this is in prime, in my opinion, Echo territory, where 2025, Echo's release date was very vague until nearly when it was released. It was late last year. We were wondering, when's Echo releasing? People were speculating November. Then it became maybe December. And then ultimately it was January, kind of to open the new year. I think Ironheart's in that situation. Ironheart, in many ways, was a side character introduced in Wakanda Forever, a movie a lot of people saw. But this could be one of those Marvel spotlight situations where it is a binge model. Maybe it does release on Hulu as well. What are your thoughts on that series? What are you expecting from that and its release?
I mean, Yeah, I'm hesitant. Well, I love the character, in her introduction in Wakanda Forever.
Yeah.
But it is obviously, it is still a product of, this old Marvel Studios that was going through a lot of issues. And it seems like they've changed a lot, but it's really hard to change an entire show that you just filmed. So I don't think its quality will be what everyone wants.
Right.
Um, I mean, hopefully I'm wrong. I want to be wrong about that. I'm excited for the concept of it, right? Technology versus magic.
That does sound really
Um,
cool.
I think that's a strong angle. She's obviously a great setup for any potential young Avengers or whatever new group for these younger heroes the MCU is going to form one day.
Yeah, I mean, and you figure, I think there really is a chance at this point with them drawing back the TV shows a bit, where maybe we do get a Young Avengers series because the Young Avengers was firmly set up in the Marvels. There's no real way of denying that. At least like a Young Avengers team of some kind. And I think that would be really cool. There could be, maybe some kind of connection here. By the way, just on this series, like Dominique Thorne obviously coming back as Riri Williams, who was great, like you mentioned in Wakanda Forever. I really liked her character too. Anthony Ramos is in this. He's like the number two guy in this series. Alden Ehrenreich is in this series. Like, there's some pretty legit actors. I mean, Anthony Ramos is getting pretty big. He's been in a lot lately. He was in Transformers. He's going to be in the new Twisters movie. So I'm really interested to see how this performs because I think it could actually be a little bit more interesting for all audiences. Like that's what makes me hesitate a little bit in terms of comparing it like I already was to Echo because Echo was that like got that MA rating, which I thought it was barely MA to me. It didn't really like go too hard with that. Ironheart, I think, should be marketed towards kids. I mean, I think in general this could be
So you want an MA bloody gory Ironheart show, right?
no, I I don't. I'm saying I mean, I would take it. I'd watch that. But no, I don't think that's what this should be. I don't think it's what it's going to be. I think they should market this towards younger kids, get that audience in here. And then obviously us that cover it and love Marvel Studios. But yeah, overall, man, unless you have anything else to add, like it was exciting to hear about this. I loved how they broke things down with Marvel Animation, Marvel Studios, meaning movies, Marvel Television, that now using that Marvel Television, which used to be like ABC and Netflix. And now it really does feel under that, that larger Disney umbrella. I like that idea. And I like that they're making it feel to me, at least, as someone who's been here since day zero with all of this with Disney Plus, they're making in a good way. They're making it seem like Marvel Television is a bit more separate than Marvel Studios. And I think it's a positive thing where I think some people, and this happened with the Marvels, that box office performance, I think some people maybe felt, oh man, I can't catch up. There's too much homework. And they didn't go out to see the latest movie. Maybe they were going to watch it later on Disney Plus and really catch up. So I think it is smart that they're really trying to kind of differentiate these things. And maybe that would make people feel better about just hopping into a series without feeling they have to watch something before it. Because while, in my opinion, that used to be a big strength of the MCU, seeing Captain America before Thor or, Ant-Man before Civil War, stuff like that. Now it's kind of like, oh, wait, I missed Secret Invasion. I missed Moon Knight. I missed She-Hulk. Do I need to watch that before I dive into this? So I do think that that categorizing, that change in categorizing these things is helping a bit.
Uh, I I don't love the television banner itself because I think that it kind of muddies the water. I mean, it's good in the way that you're talking about, but I think that it inherently is going to make people like, especially more general audience, question like, okay, is this in the MCU? It doesn't say Marvel Studios on the front. Which was always that label that you would feel safe knowing, okay, everything about this is important and it's canon.
Yeah,
Without that, you're going to have general audiences going, "Oh, I didn't know Daredevil was in the MCU. I thought this was."
right.
I
And
think it's going to confuse things a little bit, so yeah, but we'll see, I
yeah,
guess.
we will see. And it is interesting because really, like, that's a great point because that's just the other side of the same coin of what I was discussing, where it's like some people are drawn to the idea of it maybe feeling and looking separate, while others may be turned off by that idea of it feeling and looking separate and seeming like it may not be a part of the canon MCU. Regardless, I mean, Disney has Deadpool and Wolverine, like that I think is going to either turn the tide a bit in terms of how people perceive the MCU, or keep it on the trajectory that it's currently going, which isn't awesome.